So today is a very big day for me. I'm launching not only my own personal business, but also this channel, Young Aussie Professionals, or YAP. I won't be going into anything on my business for this video. This is an introduction to the YAP YouTube channel itself. And I wanted to start with just a bit of a summary for what's going on for young Australians at the moment. It's all a bit doom and gloom out there. If you look at the news or if you look at what people are talking about at the water cooler, it's international conflicts and humanitarian crises, climate crises, which, is a lot for a Monday morning or even a Friday afternoon. On top of that, you've got the cost of living crisis, housing crisis, renting crisis, so many crises going on, which can feel super overwhelming for people who are young and trying to get their first steps onto the corporate ladder or any other type of business. Particularly when young people are trying to get into the workforce and, starting their professional lives. I think what they're finding is a lot of the information they've been given is a little outdated, especially when it comes from schools, parents, universities, and other people in the public marketplace. What you're told is that if you do well at school and do well at university, you'll get a job and then you can eventually work to gain your time back and have a good retirement. But increasingly, it seems like even if you do all of these things and follow all of the rules, it doesn't guarantee that you'll be able to, get to that point, own a home, be able to afford to have kids. And a lot of young Australians that I've spoken to, including myself, are becoming disillusioned by that. So that's the context that I've been operating in for about a year now. I've been sort of thinking on that, reflecting on it. And ultimately, when you do the mathematics, it doesn't really add up, right? Even if you save every cent that you earn, you're not going to be able to get to the outcomes that you want of owning your own home or being able to afford the things that you want, to go on holiday places, to explore the world and do what you want to do. So as a young person, what do you do about this situation? You've grown up on the internet, so naturally I feel like people tend to go online to look for resources for what they should do and where they should turn. One of the two places that they tend to go, including myself, I've been through this journey, is the FIRE movement, financially independent, retire early. And I think FIRE is very attractive to people who are in the professional realm because it's quite a sensible approach to managing your money. You save your money and you put it away and you rely on compound interest, and then after some period of time, the idea is that you can retire and live comfortably. I think the main problem with that is, though, because of this system, it takes a long time for your money to compound, especially if you're not earning that much to begin with, as many young people aren't. And your quality of life throughout that period of time is not exactly great. You can't go on holidays that you want to do. Your friends are going out and doing things that you can't do. Some people don't even go out to eat at restaurants, and they survive on very cheap food that's not particularly good for you. It's not the best quality of life. Also, if you're a little bit older, you might not necessarily have the time for that money to compound, especially if you're looking at things like, wanting to have a family, or if you already have kids. It's very difficult to put all of your money into that FIRE situation and live like that when you've got a young family to support, or it's something that you're hoping to begin. So if you're all about FIRE and that's working for you, then great, by all means, go ahead with that. But I think at least for me and for a lot of other young people, it might not be that attractive an option. The second type of person that there's a lot of on the internet are those made-it-already superstars who have 8-figure drop-shipping businesses or gym chains, or they're a tycoon of some sort, and they're going to regular people and telling them, hey, this is how I got rich over a series of 10 years or something like that. Here's how you can do it as well. I've noticed a lot that these type of people often focus on sales type skills, which are great if you're a really extroverted, outgoing person who can do sales really well. But if you're not into sales, then it's quite a big hurdle to overcome to learn those skills. And it's just sort of going against your very nature in a lot of ways. Even if you do go down one of these roads, not everybody can be the drop shipping tycoon, or not everybody can be the 8-figure, amazing empire in every area of commerce or business. And I think that once one person has made it in that space, they tend to assume that every person who's listening, or at least a large subset of those people, can actually make it in the same way. And again, that's not leveraging the abilities of that person and not leveraging their skills and experience. So for my own personal experience with this, I actually was following along with some of these, influencer types about a year ago now. And I had an idea that I thought was good and I tried to execute on it. But because it wasn't aligned with my skill set and it wasn't aligned with my personality and my work type, inevitably I got burnt out and I wasn't as effective as somebody who was more suited to that sort of business. So look, if FIRE works for you or doing one of these hustler type programs works for you, then great, that's amazing. All power to you. But I think that a lot of young people, a lot of young Australians are hoping for something that's a bit more aligned with their skills. They feel like they can connect with a bit more and is a bit more realistic, both in terms of being able to spend their youth in a way that is valuable to them, being able to go and see the world, have those experiences, or do whatever they want to do, but also then utilize their skills to build a business that gives them personal and financial freedom. So, I have a hypothesis that if you work really hard for 2 to 8 years, depending on where you are, 8 years if you're 17 and just starting out, or 2 years if you have more of that, mid-level of your career project experience and, career experience, you can get where you want to go and develop this professional business that is self-owned, self-operated, and autonomous to the point where you decide what you want to work on, when you want to work, how you want to work. And also you can support yourself financially and re-earn your freedom, not have to be part of the rat race anymore and not have to be on somebody else's clock. And the way I want to test my hypothesis is, well, as I mentioned, I just started my own business literally today. So I'm going to be testing it with myself as the guinea pig. I didn't want to do this 6 months down the road when I've either made it or, God forbid, the business has collapsed. I wanted to do it from the start so that I could document every step of the process that I take so that you can see, firstly, what I do to try to achieve success. And secondly, all of the lessons that I learn and the pitfalls that I either fall into or avoid along the journey so that you can benefit from that yourself if you're also thinking about doing something like this. And to be clear, I'm nothing special. I'm just a fairly mid-level, average Australian professional, in the professional businesses space. My consultancy doesn't have any existing clients. Potentially there's some client goodwill from previous projects, which I'm exploring, but again, very limited. I don't want you to get the impression that I'm, starting off with a leg up. I already have clients lining up out the door or anything like that. And that would defeat the purpose of this experiment as well, because what I really want to see is, can somebody who doesn't have any inherent advantages and who is starting this from the beginning make it work with this strategy, which I'm going to go into in my next major video? And can they make it succeed? So, taking a quick step back, who is the channel for? The channel will be for young Australian professionals from the age of, I would say, 17 at the earliest, maybe 16 if you're really entrepreneurial at a young age, but into that early 20s stage where you're coming out of university or you've done a trade or something like that, and you're getting your first bits of experience in the professional industry, or then as you progress to the middle of your career, probably capping out at about that point where you go from being X role to senior X role. So for example, in my case, it was the point of going from consultant to senior consultant. So for some people, this might even be up to the point where you're, 30, 35. I know that's potentially pushing the limits of what a young Australian is, but if we push it to 35, that gets me another, 7 years or so. So, we'll stick with that for the time being. And the channel will have 3 main goals. So firstly, as I've sort of been talking about, it's to document my experience of starting my own business, seeing how effective my strategy is that I'm testing, and documenting the process for other people to then emulate in their own business. Secondly, I've found that the podcast format has been very beneficial for me when I've been learning business skills and, general professional skills. So it's something that I want to lean into heavily. I know there's a wealth of information out there, both from other young Australian professionals who are doing the similar sort of thing, starting their own business, and also from, older people in the industry who either work in business development or might have particular insights into a certain type of profession. So, as I mentioned, my background is consulting, but there are all sorts of different professional areas that I would like to speak to professionals who are in those areas and bring advice to you from them. And lastly, and most importantly, obviously, the most important thing that I am doing is convincing myself that at the age of 28 or even up to 35, I can still call myself a young Australian professional. So let's keep that in mind as well. So thank you for watching, and I hope you're excited for the journey like I am. I've got a lot more planned that I want to do, so yeah, drop a subscribe on the channel and stay tuned for what's coming next.